I'm Dan Rea, live at the Boston Marathon Awards ceremonies. They have just started. We will show them to you today live on 4.
Wayland's Alberto Salazar kicked by his nearest competition in the final half mile to win the marathon in the 4th fastest time ever. And in the women's division, an upset winner, West Germany's Charlotte Teske.
The battle for Boston's Channel 7 is over, and WNAC will be no more.
Had a letter the other day. How do you peel a banana? Tell you about it later on.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Gail Harris, and we will have a special Boston Marathon edition for you tonight, live on 4.
Live on 4 with Gail Harris, Dan Rea, and the entire Eyewitness News team.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Rea reporting to you tonight live from Northeastern University Arena, the site of the 86th Annual Boston Athletic Awards Marathon. Behind me, most of the winners are up on stage. That awards ceremony is underway now. We will be joining that ceremony in progress. Of course, the winners today in the women's division, Charlotte Teske, and in the men's division, Alberto Salazar. It was one of the greatest marathon races in the history of Boston. Alberto Salazar, who owns the 1981 marathon record from New York City, set a marathon record here in Boston today. He won it in record time. Salazar went into today's race as the favorite among more than 7,600 runners, but before the race he was just one of the pack, stretching and limbering up for the grueling 26-mile, 385-yard course. The start of the marathon filled with tradition. Today's 86th race started, as it always has, at noon. Well, as you can see, they streamed out of Hopkinton, 7,700 official entrants, undoubtedly thousands more without the benefit of a BAA registration number. It was a near-perfect day for running, sunny skies and a trail wind. Along the road from Hopkinton to Boston, the crowds built and waited. Gail Harris and I were, along with thousands of others, at Commonwealth Avenue in Newton at the peak of Heartbreak Hill. More than 20 miles into the men's race, it was a two-man affair. Dick Beardsley of Minnesota in the white cap, and Alberto Salazar of Wayland, Massachusetts. Salazar, the prohibitive favorite, one step behind, tracking Beardsley from Wellesley up and down the Newton chain. Bill Rogers, the king of Boston. He was about a minute and a half behind, but not in it this Patriots Day from Heartbreak Hill on. Beardsley and Salazar until Salazar finally made a move. Salazar looking over his shoulder, coming down Ring Road at the Boston Prudential toward the finish line. Beardsley now behind Salazar, and Salazar and Beardsley in one of the closest marathons in history. It'll be compared to a marathon of a couple of years ago when Bill Rogers and Jeff Wells were only separated by 2 seconds. Coming across the finish line after Salazar won this race, he had some minor medical problems that were taken care of. He had his temperature drop a little bit lower than what it should have been. Back here live at Northeastern Arena as Salazar receives there the wreath of victory, as you can see from Mayor Kevin White and Governor Ed King. The women's winner, Charlotte Teske, is being introduced to this crowd. She is receiving her awards. The women's awards, again, are in progress. The men's awards will be taking place a little bit later on. We will bring you portions of those later on during this edition of Live on 4. But first, let's go back to the studio with Gail Harris and some more on today's marathon. Gail, it was a great race.
Oh, it certainly was, and a terrific day for one, Dan. A little more information for you now about that women's race. It was, as Dan mentioned, an upset, and it also saw an injury to the favored runner, Greta Weiss. The winner of the women's division was 32-year-old Charlotte Teske from West Germany. Her time was 2 hours, 29 minutes, 33 seconds. That's more than 4 minutes behind the time of last year's winning woman runner. Jacqueline Garreau of Montreal, the winner in 1980, came in second, and Eileen Klaugus of California was third. The upset of the day was the injury to expected winner Greta Weiss of Norway. At Heartbreak Hill, Weiss was the first woman to climb up that portion of Commonwealth Avenue. If you look very closely, you can see her running in a group of men. Greta was forced to drop out of the race, however, before reaching Coolidge Corner. Leg clamps were apparently the problem there. The winner, once again, Charlotte Teske of West Germany. There were thousands of women runners in today's marathon, and that number continues to grow. Interestingly enough, though, as more women get involved in long-distance running, scientists are finding out that the stress is having a unique effect on their bodies.
She's breathing the air through here, and then we're collecting the air as it goes through those machines over there and analyzing for oxygen and CO2. Yep. That way we can determine how much oxygen she's able to take in during exercise, which is a criteria for fitness, for a high fitness level.
Keeping fit is just part of the goal here. The woman and the treadmill are both part of a 2-year study that's trying to find out why excessive exercise like running can stop or drastically cut down some women's menstrual cycles. That study is being conducted by scientists at Sargent College on Boston University's campus. Dr. Schwoegler and Dr. Beverly Bullen are conducting the test.
We're trying to document any fitness changes that they make, and that's why we're going to use the treadmill as a device for measuring their fitness levels before and after training and during training.
When they start to run, what we're interested in seeing is whether if you cut down their calories and have them actually lose weight, this will affect the menstrual period, or whether if they maintain their weight and still are running, that they will still lose their menstrual periods.
By the end of this summer, 20 young women like this one will probably be in better physical shape than they've ever been in their lives. More importantly, they'll provide one more piece in the puzzle of how running really affects our bodies.
By the way, there is an ironic footnote to today's racing event. While Boston marathoners were crossing the finish line, New York City police were arresting Rosie Ruiz. Ruiz is charged with stealing $60,000 from her employer. As you may remember, Ruiz was stripped of her 1980 Boston Marathon women's title for cheating. Well, of course, as always, the marathon brought a lot of people into the city of Boston. Many of them are probably trying to find their way back out at this hour. Let's check with Dave Hemingway at Metro Traffic Control and see how they're doing. Dave?
You're right, Gail, and we still have some very heavy congestion along parts of the marathon route, like right here at the Prudential Center. And we can see 54s down from the Skywalk here. Some very tight congestion over on Boylston Street. That's causing some trouble for commuters over there. Also over at Kenmore Square and at Cleveland Circle. But for the most part, it's been a pretty light afternoon. Our Unit 15 has an update for you now.
Commuters heading north out of the city have had a trouble-free ride on 93 and the Mystic-Tobin Bridge. There's a little bit more congestion over at the Callahan. It'll take 4 minutes to get through the tunnel towards East Boston and Logan Airport.
But if you're waiting for somebody to come in from the airport, the Sumner's in good shape from East Boston all the way into the city. Live on 4, David Hemingway, Metro Traffic Control.
Believe it or not, there is other news other than the Boston Marathon. The Supreme Court today pulled the plug on WNAC-TV. The court refused to reconsider the FCC's decision to strip RKO of its license to operate Channel 7. Now, what that means is that it clears the way for a new group, New England Television, to come in and run Boston's CBS affiliate. Eyewitness News reporter Dennis Kauff is back in our newsroom now with more on the story. Dennis?
Well, Gail, WNAV is what the new Channel 7 is going to be called when New England Television takes over. Now, that could be in about a month or two, or it could take until this coming fall. One way or the other, the long battle over who is going to run Channel 7 is now over. RKO today released a statement saying, in effect, it will cooperate and assist in a smooth transfer of ownership. And the new operators of the station say they will be ready to go as soon as they negotiate with RKO for the facilities.
What this means is that a very long, 13-year-long legal battle in the courts and with the FCC involved has finally come to an end. We will be talking to RKO soon about acquiring facilities from them. We don't know what the outcome of those talks will be, but sometime soon, within the next few months, we expect to be on the air as Channel 7, and our call sign will be WNEV.
When WNEV does go on the air, it will be 14 days after it tells the FCC that it is ready. It will continue to broadcast as a CBS station, so the same regular primetime programming. What effect it's going to have on local programming really has not been established yet. The new owners, the new operators, New England Television, are still worrying about that. Gail?
Okay, thank you, Dennis. It's been a long battle indeed there. Well, the winners of the marathon have already received their laurel wreaths, but really the festivities surrounding the marathon have only just begun. Dan Rea is there live at Northeastern Arena. Dan?
Well, Gail, this is timed out pretty well for us. Right now, they are awarding the second-place winner, Dick Beardsley, with his award. Now, all of us this afternoon have to remember the step-for-step, foot-for-foot race. Here's Dick Beardsley now moving toward the podium. That Dick Beardsley and Alberto Salazar ran seemed that from the moment that they went through Wellesley, no, he is not here. They are looking for him, and he apparently is not here. But you remember, obviously, that step-for-step race that Beardsley and Salazar ran this afternoon. The Salazar award is next now. They have basically awarded awards to all of the winners and the 10 finishers, the 10 top finishers in both the women and the men's finals. Here again is that stretch run down Ring Road. Salazar having taken the lead, looking back over his shoulder at Beardsley with a motorcycle escort. Beardsley making a run at Salazar, and then Salazar looking once and pulling away toward the finish line. One of the most memorable Boston Marathon finishes. With me now is Catherine Schweitzer, who is one of our experts. Here's the award, Catherine. Let's listen to the award.
Magnificent performance, Mr. Alberto Salazar.
Captain, as this applause continues here for Alberto, first of all, what's the latest on Greta White's condition?
Well, first of all, the applause for Salazar is certainly well-deserved. This is one of the most incredible Boston victories in history, I think, as we all realize. The word on Greta is that she is all right. Her thighs simply seized up at Coolidge Corners. She bent over, got in an ambulance, and went to the hospital. She's fine. She's back in the hotel. Going to be all right. But, of course, Tesco went on to take her at that point and didn't even know she'd won the race until she hit the finish line.
Now, also, Alberto had some problems afterwards. We understand that his body temperature went down. Is that normal for a runner?
No, not in the heat, but obviously he was extremely, extremely fatigued, and so sometimes that can happen. Obviously, he's fine now. Once he's had his fluid replacement, the same things happened to Greta. Greta's comment was, if the last 2 miles of the race had been uphill, I would have won it.
A tough finish for Greta White, and there they are up on the stage. Dick Beardsley now is joining. Is that Dick Beardsley?
Yes,
joining now Alberto Salazar. Apparently, Dick was a little bit late here. I don't know that we, again, here we have some more of this race today with Salazar, Beardsley. This is Beardsley in the lead in the white cap. I can't tell from the pictures where this is. This may be either in Wellesley or along Heartbreak Hill or even along Commonwealth Avenue. They ran in that formation all afternoon, it seemed, from the point of Wellesley on. It was about a mile from the finish line when Salazar finally made his move. He moved very quickly out in front of Beardsley, and then Beardsley and Hereford Street made a move on Salazar, and for a second it looked like they were going to catch him.
That is incredible. It never happens that they fight back like that. He did. Who knows? We think he would have caught him. No. Salazar got him back down in the home stretch. It's just absolutely an incredible finish in Boston. And those pictures just show the whole thing. Salazar drafted him the whole way. They were both at the top of their form. Nobody was getting too tired at that point.
Catherine, thanks very much for your help and analysis today. You and Coach Squires gave us a great deal of insight into this very special race, the 86th running of the Boston Athletic Association Marathon. A little bit later on during this edition of Live on Full, we'll try to have some of these winners for you live. But first, let us check back with Bruce Schwoegler, who gave us an absolutely beautiful day, perhaps a little bit warm for the marathoners, but for those of us who were spectating today, it was a beautiful day. Bruce Schwoegler?
Well, Dan, it was certainly a very enjoyable day for the spectators and, of course, a little too warm for the runners. We've got some mild weather coming up once again tomorrow, and there will be some showers developing, especially tomorrow night into the first half of Wednesday, and then some more pleasant weather coming up. So we've really got it made, so to speak, and not in the shade, except for a little while late tomorrow. We do have a big snowstorm going on in the Midwest, but not here. The spring-like weather continues, and here's our forecast for Boston and vicinity, calling for the side of my head and then the clear skies tonight. Low temperatures falling to the mid-40s with a southwesterly wind at light speeds. It'll be about 40 in the suburbs. Tomorrow, a sunny day, a sunny start, and then the clouds increase late in the day. It'll be mild in the mid to upper 60s with an increasing southerly wind at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Tomorrow night there'll be some showers, maybe even a thunderstorm after midnight, and then it'll all end later on Wednesday and with clearing skies moving in. Here's the way the weather looked this afternoon from space. Much activity in the Midwest, some severe activity down through eastern Texas and Louisiana. That cloud area is moving in an easterly direction. These are the current temperatures at some of our selected stations, ranging from 55 with a thunderstorm in Atlanta and 60 degrees in Chicago, 71 in Cleveland, 56 in New York, 43 in Caribou, and 71 in New York, down through Washington, D.C., in the 80s, New Orleans and Orlando. On Wednesday, looks like some sunshine coming up late in the day after the morning showers. Perhaps you'll see a rainbow in this picture by Leanne Campbell, a fourth grader from the Sheehan School in Westwood. On Thursday, sunny, beautiful weather for all the folks. All the kids get out there in the swings. Jared McKay, a second grader from the Hannon School in Beverly, with our Thursday beautiful weather forecast. And it looks like some fine weather will continue on Friday with a warming trend into the 70s. That won't put us in the doghouse, says Danny Kreisiak from the Passio School in Lunenburg. So we've got some great weather to tell you about, and you know, we've talked about the marathon throughout today. Well, don't forget Lexington and Concord Day way back in 1775. What kind of weather did they have? It was just like we had today. A beautiful day, but only had a battle back then, different kind. That's the forecast. Over to you, Gail.
Thank you, Bruce. And when we come back in just a moment, live on 4, we'll be checking in with Bob Lobel, who is at the finish line at the Prue. Still some people crossing the line, Bob.
Gail, believe it or not, 5 hours and 47 minutes and 50 seconds. We still have some people crossing the finish line here at the Prudential Center. Our own Jennifer McLogan ran today, and so did Johnny Kelly, 74-year-old elder. We'll come back and tell you how they did right after this.
Well, there are still marathon runners straggling in even at this late hour, but that's okay. They're finishing. Bob Lobel is live at the finish line. And Bob, the last time I saw Jennifer McLogan, it was at Heartbreak Hill, and she looked a little tired, but she was hanging in there.
Well, she made it, Gail.
Right.
Jennifer made it. How long did it take you?
Long time, 4 hours, 20 minutes, and 12 seconds. It was very agonizing.
A little longer than you had planned, but it was hot out
Much longer. It was very hot. I'll tell you, I consider myself somewhat of a hack runner. I run perhaps 40 miles a week, but my admiration and my respect for these marathoners that do it time after time after time and train 80 miles a week or so has grown immensely after going through something like this. I don't think anything can properly prepare you physically and psychologically for what you have to go through out there. But thankfully, the crowds are so wonderful. If it wasn't for the people just cheering and making you feel so good with every step of the way, I think I would have dropped out long before the finish.
Well, Jennifer just ran her first marathon. Johnny Kelly ran his 51st today, and he finished 4 hours and 1 minute. Not a bad job for us.
He beat me by a lot.
Jennifer, you did a great job. We're just very proud of you.
Thank you. It was really a thrill, and I'll tell you, the highlight must have been when I got to Wellesley College, because the college students out there border this thin little field, and all the runners run right through, and it's so close and so intense. It just brings tears to your eyes with everybody out there and just going. And I guess by the time I got to Coolidge Corner, I started losing it and made a slow, painful finish.
You did it. You ran the big one.
Yeah,
nice
thanks.
job, Mac. Jennifer McLogan, 4 hours, 20 minutes. She speaks for an awful lot of runners who were not there when the television cameras were rolling, crossing the finish line. Dan Rea is standing by at Northeastern Arena, where the awards ceremony continues. Danny?
Well, Bob, it has just completed this award ceremony, but it certainly was the big story in Boston today. It is the big story in Boston today. But, of course, as in Boston every day, lots happening around town. Jack Williams now is back in the newsroom. Catch us up to date on some of the other big stories in this evening. Jack?
All right, Danny, I wish I was down there with you watching some of those great runners get their just rewards, and glad that Jennifer McLogan did so well today. We're going to tell you a lot more about the Boston Marathon coming up at 6 o'clock, as you would expect, including we'll have an interview with Greta Weitz, who was forced to drop out of the race. Quite a story that turned out to be. Well, besides being Marathon Day today, the day is a Patriots Day, and Dennis Kauff reports on the celebration of those Revolutionary War battles. Well, the bells are ringing at the Old North Church in observance of Paul Revere's ride some 207 years ago, and Walt Sanders will tell us more about that great event. And our man-at-large Dick Flavin reports on the varied running styles of the Boston Marathon. These stories and a lot more coming up at 6 o'clock, and we hope that you can join Liz Walker and me. Gail?
Okay, Jack. We'll see you soon. Thank you. In just a moment, live on 4, our arts and entertainment reporter Joyce Kulhawick is going to tell us about the impact that running is having on entertainment. Dan?
Well, Gail, everyone who even tried to run the marathon today was a winner in Boston. We get back, we'll be talking live with some of the top finishers in today's race. That's next, live on 4. Well, as I said before, just before we left, everyone who ran the Boston Marathon today was a winner, but we have one of the top finishers with us, Dick Beardsley from Rush City, Minnesota, and it must have been quite a rush coming down the home stretch, neck and neck with Alberto Salazar today, Dick.
Yeah, it really was. It was probably the most incredible race I've ever run, definitely. There's no doubt about it.
We've got some videotape now. Give a look at this. Here you're at the top of Ring Road. Tell me exactly what is on your mind. You must be in excruciating pain.
Well, all I could think of was just trying to beat Alberto to the finish line, and I knew he has a lot of leg speed, and I kind of got cut off by a motorbike up on top of the hill there, and he got me by a couple seconds there at the end, but I think it'll probably go down as one of the best races in history.
Where did you find the reserve, the energy to make that final run at him at the top of Ring Road after he had passed you on Comm Avenue?
I don't know. I just dug as deep as I could, and it came. I was surprised.
Tick, congratulations. You and your coach, Bill Squires, made quite a team today. He was pushing for you all weekend.
For me. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
You bet.
Come back again soon. With us is a man who is an absolute familiar face here in Boston, 4-time Boston Marathon champion, Bill Rogers. Bill, how you feeling?
I feel good, Dan. I obviously was feeling pretty tough at the end, and I still believe I can go faster. I'm saying that a lot now.
No.
I'm semi-satisfied with my race. But it was a very fast pace, obviously close to world record, you know.
Today you were 2:12:38. I mean, that on many days would win.
Yeah, it was a little bit warm. But Alberto and Dick, God, they just ran just phenomenal, tremendous, and they blew the field apart, really. To stay with the pace was like that, steady the whole way. To stay with that, you had to be extremely fit, and I just wasn't there.
You'll be back again next year shooting for number 5.
I'll be back next year.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Bill, congratulations. A great run today, a great race.
Okay. See you next year.
You sure will. All right, again, as I said before, everyone who ran today was a winner. Those are 2 of the top winners today, Dick Beardsley and Bill Rogers. That's it from Northeastern University, the Boston Marathon Awards ceremony. Gail, wonderful day, another one here in Boston.
Oh, it sure was, Dan, and I guess I can only echo the congratulations that go, of course, to the winners, Alberto Salazar and to Charlotta Teska of West Germany. But really, everybody who ran, as we have told you before, certainly was a winner, whether they were the 7,623 official winners or just somebody who got out there and plugged along. Good for them. Thanks for joining us. Eyewitness News is coming up next.
Live on 4 with Gail Harris, Dan Rea, and the entire Eyewitness News team. Live on 4 with Gail Harris, Dan Rea, and the entire Eyewitness News team. Live on 4 with Gail Harris, Dan Rea, and the entire Eyewitness News team.